with Liverpool, I'm just finding them absolutely miraculous this season. The way that they can go 1-0 down in so many different games, the way they just keep coming back in all sorts of these games. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get a sense that the writing's on the wall and it is just going to be the Klopp swan song, they're going to do it.
Yes, I am beginning to think that you are correct. There is something outrageously brilliant about this Liverpool team. They are relentless. They are so single-minded. They are, I think, the perfect definition of a team. You know, when you watch them play, if you use, say, the cup final where they beat Chelsea as an example, everything about that demonstrates, firstly, the brilliance of Jurgen Klopp, but secondly, how they are so harmonious and so united in what they're trying to achieve. They are the absolute definition of being a team. They sacrifice themselves, they place each other first, and there's a microcosm that you can use in that game, actually. I think Ben Chilwell ends up going in with Conor Bradley.
Bradley, yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's Joe Gomez there and got Chilwell round the throat and whatever. And it took a while. Like Levi Colwill and Conor Gallagher got involved, but there was at least 3 or 4 seconds, which in fighting terms is quite a long time, isn't it? 3 or 4 seconds where it was Chilwell being bullied effectively, and bullying as a terminology is not a good thing to do. But you can bully your way to victory on a football pitch, and it's a brilliant thing to do. So when you think about how they're playing on the pitch, yes, they're absolutely capable of doing it. And then the other thing, which I think is so important, it's the unquantifiable stuff, the Klopp factor. And do you know what else? I wasn't at the game, Ollie. I was working for the cup final. But do you know what one of my mates said to me? And I think it's so important. He said that Liverpool fans won them that game because they went into extra time. And I think in the second half of extra time, they started that "We Conquered All of Europe" song. And they basically never looked back. The team basically never looked back. So that's never going to happen with certain
You're
clubs.
right. There was an inevitability about the fact that they were going to win that game, despite the fact that they had. I mean, let's be fair. Even the most ardent Liverpool fan would have sat when those subs came on and gone, "I've never heard of him."
Right. That's what you. You were going to admit that. What I thought you were going to say is, "I don't know if we're going to win this." What I was about to say to try and amplify your point
you knew they were going to win.
I've worked in football for a long time, and I'm very lucky to do so. Touch wood. I didn't know who any of the geezers were who were coming on the pitch. I literally didn't know who they were. If you think, okay, right, we don't know who these kids are, and they're children. Chelsea win this game now, surely. And through the brilliance of Klopp, the determination of the players, and the insistence of their support, they won the game.
Yeah, is that enough to carry them to the title? Do you know what?
Yeah, it is. They've got the best fixtures as well, which is very important.
They have, yeah. For me, do you know what's so crazy? I was going to ask you about this as well. Is the fact that Arsenal at the moment have the best records. They have the best defence. They have the best attack. In the Premier League at the moment. They have the best goal difference as well, which could be pretty key come the end of the season as well. But yet, when you look at their fixtures to come, they've still got to play Man United away, they've still got to play Tottenham away as well. Liverpool have got to go to Old Trafford. Obviously, they played out that amazing FA Cup
Liverpool
game.
win at Old Trafford, though.
But when it comes to the league, I see them winning this weekend.
Particularly when you think what each team has at stake. The only thing that Manchester United really have at stake, I think, by the time that fixture comes along, will be preservation of their rivalry with Liverpool, preservation of their record with Liverpool.
Stopping Liverpool.
Yeah,
well, let's be fair, that counts for a lot.
No, well, does it? Can I take your mind back to
Man United
Cup final? No, preserve your treble, right? Manchester United had the opportunity to preserve their treble. Ten Hag had the opportunity to play Man United at Wembley, to play Man City at Wembley, and not only win the cup, which is huge in its own right, but protect what Beckham and his boys did in '99. How'd that go? This team haven't got that. This team aren't about that, I don't think.
They have beaten Liverpool, though, recently.
Yeah, they've beaten Liverpool. They did. And it was an amazing game and one of the best cup finals I've seen since Chelsea played Liverpool in '97. But realistically, Liverpool beat them in the league, don't they?
Can I ask you, though, right, so let's say Liverpool do kick on. Let's say they do win the league. Given that it's been a 3-horse race for pretty much the whole season and unbelievably exciting, and given the fact that they had to, rebuild their entire midfield, given the fact that you could definitely argue that their squad is the weakest out of those three. It's a very strong squad, don't get me wrong. But out of those three...
It's the weakest of the three, I think that's fair to say.
It's the weakest of the three. Is it one of the most remarkable title wins we've ever seen if they do go on to do it?
Yeah, I think so. Because it shouldn't have happened. I think any title win that shouldn't have happened is always far more spectacular than something that feels slightly scripted. Manchester City should be winning the league, and if they don't, it should be Arsenal. The fact that the best title win ever I think this transcends sport, it transcends football, it transcends everything. What Leicester did, because it shouldn't have happened. I feel like if Liverpool win the league, when you think about where Liverpool were at the beginning of the season. They were in a terrible state. Chelsea were signing all the midfielders they wanted to sign. They totally demolished their midfield. They built it up again with fresh new players. There was no consistency. They'd let 6 midfielders go in the space of, 18 months? You know, if any one of those midfielders had gone, you'd go, okay, this is fine. Klopp's good enough. But you can't demolish a midfield. You can't let 6 go. Then they had to do without Mohamed Salah for the entire AFCON. He's been injured. He's the jewel in the crown. He's been injured.
God, you forget that as well.
I know. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And again, it's all due to the outrageous ability of Jurgen Klopp.
And some very good recruitment as well, which of course he'll play a big part.
Do you know what, Ollie? Through this conversation, this has been a slightly didactic experience for me here, because I didn't think I was going to conclude this conversation by saying that I think Liverpool are going to win the league, because I've been saying Arsenal. I feel like there's something about Arsenal at the moment. I feel like Arteta's getting so much right. Earlier in the show, I said that Arteta's got the Midas touch. But now when we explore it, and I'm looking at the Liverpool fixtures, and I can see that they're playing Sheffield United, where I feel like the goal difference will be equalised a touch. I'm now looking at it thinking they don't have the arduous, relentless competition that is the Champions League. Ollie, I'm starting to think that it's going their way. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. As you say, that I think when you look at those fixtures, Arsenal definitely have the toughest for me.
Yeah,
and I just, it might, and do you know what? It might not even be in one of those tough games. I think it might be in one of those other games.
Because Brighton is a tough game.
Brighton away is a very hard game.
Do you know where else
away as well?
Wolves away. Going to Molineux for Arsenal. Going to Molineux is not going to be easy. And when you look,
and they're going to have to. The thing is, that's not because Arsenal aren't great. They are. They're fantastic, like you say. But I'm saying that a draw in a couple of those games, that will cost them the title. Because Liverpool and Man City can be faultless.
And this has got something to do with the analysis that I put on the draw. Well, you know, when I read about the draw that Manchester City and Arsenal played out at the Etihad, Arsenal fans in the away end really giving it a big un and loving it, and they've taken 4 points off City. It's going their way. They feel brilliant. It is good to take 4 points off City if you're challenging City for the league. But if you aren't challenging City only for the league, then it's 2 points dropped, I'm afraid, in the title race. And now when I look at the league, I'm looking at the league table, I'm looking at the fixtures, I feel like Arsenal at best, because Arsenal, let's remember, are playing teams whose sole raison d'etre will be to make sure that when Chelsea play Arsenal, all we're going to do is do everything that we can to make sure that Arsenal don't win the league. Our entire being this season in a domestic league campaign is stop Arsenal winning the league. Tottenham, I think, will feel the same. Tottenham's whole season.
Absolutely.
Tottenham would sacrifice finishing in the top 4 to make sure Arsenal don't win the league. Of course they would. So when Arsenal play those games, when they then go to Molineux, when they then go to Brighton, where they've had a bad time of it in the past, they haven't got a good record at the Amex at all. When all those fixtures happen, Arsenal have such a small margin for error. And when we're saying that Arsenal, to win the league, effectively need to win every game between now and the end of the season, this calendar year, they've basically won every game between January and today. Since they got back from that camp in Dubai, they've been unplayable.
But so they're going to have to be faultless from now on.
But they've already been faultless up until now. I don't think...
So they can't. I know what you're saying. There's no reason why they can't be.
There's no reason why they can't be, apart from like law of averages. And then you think Liverpool have easier fixtures. They don't have the Champions League to worry about.
Just a quick one on that. Do you think that Liverpool, given that they're not in the elite European competition, given that they're in the Europa League, and given that they're probably going to face... I mean, there's some very good teams left in that competition, by the way. But given where they are in this title race... We've already spoken about the fact that Arsenal shouldn't weaken their side. They're in a Champions League quarter-final. Man City, I mean, their squad is so ridiculous anyway that that's fine. But Liverpool in the Europa League, can you see Jurgen Klopp going, maybe rest my absolute stars, because this is a chance to win one of the greatest Premier League title races of all time?
I would say absolutely not. Not now. Maybe if they went out of this competition a few rounds ago, it wouldn't have felt like a failure. But they're in a situation now where they can win yet another trophy. Remember, they've already got one in the bag. They are potentially going to win, not the treble, but a treble in Klopp's swan song. I think that the Europa League, I don't adopt this policy. I'm not sneery towards any silverware, certainly not European silverware. But maybe if you're a Liverpool fan, because of their outrageous success in European competition, because of who they are and their European stature, Liverpool fans will have to correct me on this, but I feel like Liverpool might see the Europa League as being slightly uninspiring at certain points. But not when juxtaposed with a League Cup and potentially a league. Yeah. Suddenly it becomes so much more valuable, because, look, if Liverpool ended the season with just a League Cup, or say they ended the season with just a Europa League. Some Liverpool fans who've seen their team win 6 European, maybe they'd find it a bit underwhelming. I don't know.
Yeah.
But not when you marry it up with a title and a League Cup. Suddenly,
of course, it'd be an incredible
it becomes. It's like I remember like Vialli's treble winners. We won the Super Cup and we put it alongside the League Cup. It became Vialli's treble.
Yeah.
Vialli's three trophies.
And this would become Klopp's
farewell
treble.
Do you remember Liverpool won
whatever
that? Liverpool, do you remember? It must have been about 2001. Do you remember they won the three kind of weaker trophies?
Yeah.
But then because they won them all, they had an amazing parade. I was at university in Liverpool at the time.
So yeah,
and it really mattered to the city.
Yeah, any trophy means a lot to any fan base. Just very quickly on City as well, Rory. We spoke a bit earlier about Roy Keane's comments about Erling Haaland and him being a League Two player. He's only scored once against the top 5 this season. So does Roy Keane, and therefore you, because let's be honest, you made that big call. A while ago about Haaland. Does it mean that you have a point?
I feel like there is a point in the ridiculous, outlandish statement that I made about Erling Haaland that was proved so drastically wrong. I think within that statement, within the words that I uttered, within the point that I was making, there is a point. Yeah, of course, it's very difficult to make that point. He's currently the top goal scorer in the Premier League, and he scored 50 goals and won a treble. So it's really difficult. But the fact that Roy Keane has said it, I think it does lend gravity to the point I'm making. But
I think
when we spoke about it, you went mad at me. So maybe I'm scared now.
I think what caught you out was the numbers that you brought up in that original comment.
Yeah,
whereas actually you were trying to make the point about his ability as a striker. And so in this instance, and Roy Keane's basically, he's lent you a little helping hand.
I think Roy Keane's point is that Erling Haaland is an outrageous goal scorer, far better than I thought he would be. In fact. But he's also far worse a footballer than I thought he would be.
In the sense that you expect more from a centre forward.
I expect so much more from a centre forward. Yeah, I think Harry Kane. The modern day forward isn't. There is no such thing as the old fashioned forward anymore. We spoke earlier. There is no such thing as a Francis Jeffers fox in the box, as Arsene Wenger labelled him. That doesn't exist anymore. You cannot be a poacher in the box. Footballers now.
Why not though? If you're Erling Haaland, that's the bit I just don't understand. He doesn't need to do anything else. For Man City,
no,
surely.
I think you do, because the system is paramount. You're effectively saying that he can play by a different set of rules to everyone else.
I think he can. Yeah, I think he can.
I don't. I think the team. I think Guardiola's setup is so much more important, which is why in a must-win game at Aston Villa he didn't play.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that was for other reasons as well. They've got a lot of big games coming up. Of course, he wants to give them a bit of a rest as well. That's not because he thought it would be the best team to beat Aston Villa. Surely.
It must mean something that they've gone on and scored 4 goals without him.
So do you think then... So are you actually saying that Man City is stronger without Haaland in the team?
No, I'm not. What I'm saying...
It sounds like it.
What I'm saying is it's very difficult to make the point because Haaland has such an outrageous goal-scoring knack, because his numbers for goal-scoring, putting the ball into the back of the net, that ruthless pursuit of numbers, I can't argue with it. But Haaland's not a better player than Julian Alvarez. He's not a better player than him.
Well, a better footballer than him. But he's a better striker than him.
I think...
And he is a striker. So that's the whole point of Haaland being on the pitch. I think
you and I here are never really going to agree, because we'll get caught in the semantics of it all. You will always be able to fall back on he sticks the ball in the back of the net, so you don't have a point. And I will always be able to say he's not very good at football. I think that there are times where you can sacrifice a footballer for a goal scorer, and I think there are times that you can sacrifice a goal scorer for the football. The question would then becomes ultimately, what are you better? Are you a better team with Harry Kane leading the line, or are you a better team with Erling Haaland leading the line?
Potentially, I know what you're saying about Harry Kane, and you said earlier that he would have scored more than Haaland, despite the fact that Haaland broke record after record after record.
He would have scored
more. I think it would have been close.
Would have scored a lot more.
I think it would have been a lot more. How many more?
I think that Harry Kane in that season... How many more? I mean, Harry Kane doesn't really miss, does he?
No.
Doesn't really miss. Erling Haaland does. I mean, Kane's on penalties as well.
Though.
Like, I just think that I would say that Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne scores more with Harry Kane in the team. Bernardo Silva scores more with Harry Kane in the team. Jack Grealish scores more with Harry Kane in the team. The entire tide rises with a better forward. Individually, maybe Haaland is his numbers. Maybe they wouldn't be touched. Overall, I think Kane would score more, but maybe you're right. But I definitely think about how many goals he set up for Son. Think about that link-up play. Imagine that with De Bruyne.